Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast. We're back. Well, we weren't really gone for that long, but we're back. We're here to talk about all things nerd news, movies, video games, pop culture. What's your favorite Girl Scout cookie? You know, stuff like that. That was a throwback. That was an extreme old, like multiple podcast renditions ago. Do you guys remember when we talked about Girl Scout cookies on like our, how long ago was that? That was like 4 years ago. Am I the only one who remembers this? What's your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
I like the Samoas.
I like the mint one.
Yeah, I'm a thin mint man. I just, this is on my brain right now. I just got one of my old math teacher. Shout out to my old math teacher. I'm not going to say your name because that would be inappropriate. She had a daughter.
Does she listen to the podcast?
I don't think so. There's no way to know, really. Well, there probably is a way to know, but I'm not gonna look into that. But she has a daughter now who's selling Girl Scout cookies, and she posted on Facebook saying, "My daughter's selling Girl Scout cookies," and I said, "Hot dog." I haven't ordered any yet, but I'm probably going to, and they're going to be all Thin Mints because there's no other Girl Scout cookie. Are Samoas the coconut ones? Don't tell me.
Those are the ones you always want Samoa of.
Okay. Well, that's Techtic. He's on the dad jokes for this episode. I'm Illeagle 86. We have Nerdbomber over there, the Samoa fan, and an additional update for you before we dive into the news. I'm doing something that's never before been done on the podcast. I don't know if maybe you can hear it. I hope not.
I heard a clapping noise. Are you casting naked?
I am not clapping. I have Altoids in my mouth, and I'm talking multiple Altoids. Sometimes, you know, I just want to feel fresh, and especially when I'm talking so much into a hot mic. I want to freshen the mic up. I gotta tell you, so far it's really pleasant, but I will say they're Altoid smalls. They're not like big boys.
Shaquille O'Neal would approve because first it's icy, then it's hot.
Well, they're not.
That's not how Altoids work.
Never gets hot. I would hope not.
Icy breath.
Oh,
okay. I see what you did there. You know,
it's not like they're more like candy. They're not even really freshening my breath that much. You just have it, and it's like, oh, okay. It's kind of like Tic Tacs.
I miss the sour Altoids. Those were the best. They like burned a hole in your tongue, but they were so good.
Those have been gone for a minute.
But like, why? Because they were all the rage.
You just dated yourself.
That's fine.
I don't think I ever had them. I was like,
are you serious?
I was one of those. Well, I was one of those kids who.
No one ever offered you one? Did you have no friends?
Oh no! Kids offered me them. I was and probably still am a very sensitive child, and like. Remember, and then like they're still going on. It's not like over, but like remember Warheads? People went nuts for Warheads. Like when Warheads first dropped, not like literally like the candy. People around my age were going just absolutely bananas for Warheads and being like they were the cool candy because like you remember when you were kids and you were going to school, there were cool candies and Warheads were a bona fide cool candy.
Warheads were up there, but Altoids, the reason why Altoids were a cool thing were because they came in that little round tin, and then once it was empty, you could use that to like store your little pencil erasers or whatever in there.
No, we had the cool substitute teacher that would hand out Altoids. She was everyone's favorite. Never forget
Icebreakers, by the way, same situation with the little tin. You could like, well, it wasn't a tin, it was plastic, but you could like, you could use that for stuff.
Now we're going down like mint and mouth freshening lane, but do you guys remember, and I don't think they make these anymore, but Icebreakers had a specific mint and they were like little liquid balls. They weren't like a hard mint candy and they would explode in your mouth. Those were interesting.
Mint and gum like companies got just straight up experimental
bubble tape. You remember that?
Well, Bubble Tape is
Bubble
still
Tape
around.
wasn't minty. Bubble Tape's still going on. Yeah. Your boy, Illeagle 86, was absolutely crazy for Bubble Tape. That was one that every time I went to the grocery store, my Mom, can I get Bubble Tape? And she was like, yeah, whatever. Who cares?
As a professional in my career, I think I've now decided that I'm going to 3D print a Bubble Tape holder and walk around the office with it on my belt. I feel like that'd just be a sweet look.
What's going to be in it? Because you got to put something in it.
Bubble tape. What the hell?
Well, but if you can't like buy bubble tape, like you get the holder with the bubble tape regardless. So why do you need a holder?
It's to hold it onto my belt.
Kind of like a cell phone.
Oh,
clip?
it's like a cell phone clip. Okay, yeah, no, that's a very.
I'm going to make this, and it's going to be made such that you can still access the bubble tape while in the holster, so you can be just like a regular sheriff in town. Just
now. Do you guys remember, and again, this still might be going on. We might be talking about a bunch of these candies like they're ancient relics and they're like still around. But do you remember Listerine? I don't even remember what they were called.
Oh, the little strips. Those are actually still a thing.
The little piece of plastic that you would put on your tongue and they would dissolve. Like, I don't know, it had to be a crazy environment working for a gum/mint company in like the early 2000s. It was just throwing crap at the wall and seeing what would stick.
Well, I think what we learned was that in the 90s and 2000s, a lot of people had really bad breath. So they were trying to come up with ways to combat that. Which, I mean, I don't think that problem has really been solved.
It has. That's why they said, okay, everyone's got bad breath. So everyone lose your taste of smell and taste, your sense of smell and taste. And look at this. Bad breath is gone.
I have lost my taste of smell so many times. You know what my favorite... Well, okay, let's go around the room before we start. I know this is quite a long diversion, but we've come so far at this point. What is your favorite gum/mint? I will go first. Mentos. Mentos are undefeated. Every time I get Mentos, I'm like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to America.
The Icebreakers Cube.
Icebreakers Cubes are good.
I've
done that many times.
I'm a Dentine Ice. You got to get the car pack, and it has like 50 of those, and Dentine Ice will make your breath minty fresh. Also,
it's too intense.
It's not. So if you're having
there
coffee,
is a too intense.
If you're like in the office and you're having coffee and then you have lunch, your breath gets rank. You need to have something strong to combat that.
Actually, I'm hardcore digging the mask situation right now that's in the world, because all of my lunches and breakfasts are peanut butter based, and I don't want to get rid of that. I don't want to smell mint all day. I'm just huffing peanut butter like 9 to 5, and it is dope.
I currently have Mentos came out with gum. Actually, I think that was a while ago, but now they have the car packs. And I get in my car after a long day of work, and I pop a piece of Mentos gum, and I'm singing, Miley Cyrus driving down the highway. It's a great time. I know like 2 Miley Cyrus songs. So like don't be coming at me on Twitter at OWLegal86 being like, what's your favorite Miley Cyrus song? It was a joke. I know like 2. I know Party in the USA, the Can't Stop song. You know what song I'm talking about. We can't stop, we won't stop. It's our party, we can do what we want. Oh, okay, I know Wrecking Ball too. Okay, so I know 3. Look, I probably know more, but those are the 3 that everybody knows. We're gonna talk a little bit about Scott Pilgrim today. We're gonna talk about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air today. We're going to talk about E3 today. So we got a jam-packed schedule, as we often do. I will be hosting a quiz later as well with quite a topic that we'll get to. But before we get to any of that, as we did, I think at the end of last week's episode, once again at the beginning of this week's episode, I figured we'd put it at the beginning this time, Bob Saget. I feel like we just need to take a moment with our listeners to process this. And I will start by saying kind of a similar situation for me with Betty White, where I kind of knew Bob Saget for one reason. And I think most people are probably in the same boat as me. Well, I guess 2 reasons. Full House and America's Funniest Home Videos. And by the time America's Funniest Home Videos rolled around for me, I think it was the Tom Bergeron days. So like Bob Saget had kind of been put on ice in that regard. Mm-hmm. But Bob Saget was one of those people that I saw him on Full House. I was like, he's great. And then like I went on with my life for a while. And then like probably in like college or something, I found out that he was like not just Danny Tanner, but he was like
a raunchy comedian.
Prior to that had been not just like a really good comedian, but like a rated R comedian. And I have not listened to any of his stuff. I probably will go and listen to it now, but it's again one of those situations where you have so many people coming out of the woodwork being like, what an incredibly kind person. Everyone's worse off now that he's gone. So I don't know. I mean, I was never a huge Full House watcher myself, but
well, Full House is where I got my namesake from. Nerdbomber is actually something that the girls said. I think it was Stephanie Tanner in the show. She called...
I never knew that.
Yeah, that was where it came from, actually. I watched Full House, I don't think I was around to watch it in live time. I watched it mostly syndicated because I believe there was a block of time on ABC Family where it played from 1 to 3 p.m. and you got 4 episodes. And so I must have seen Full House in its entirety probably 4 or 5 times over. I loved Full House. And this is sad. I mean, he was only 65.
Right. We don't know. And I should say, as of this recording, at least, they haven't said what happened. And I'm not sure if anyone knows what happened. It's just he was found in a hotel room and no foul play was suspected. It didn't seem like there were drugs or anything involved. These things happen. It might have just been he had a heart attack or something. I don't think we know. Have you guys heard anything? I haven't heard anything else yet about how or why.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything other than that. What you said, no foul play, no drugs, nothing like that.
Yeah, I saw BJ Novak, I think it was, tweeted he had just recorded. I mean, Bob Saget was still very active. He has a podcast that I think BJ Novak had just sat down and talked to him for a podcast. And he was like, wow, I talked to this guy last week. And that I can't even imagine how that must feel.
Well, he was down in Florida because he was still actively touring. Like, he was down in Florida on a tour. He was still doing stand-up. And, well, I don't know if it was stand-up or more just like... I mean, I
being
guess
Bob, like distinguished
Bob,
speakers,
right.
talks and stuff. Like, he's Bob Saget. He's been through so much. I would love to sit down and chat with him. Unfortunately now none of us will have that chance. But yeah, it's a tough thing.
Rough way to kick off 2022, honestly.
Yeah, what the heck, 2022? Give us a break.
So let's transition to what you might think would be a happier topic. But I need to take a few minutes and kind of go like full Lewis Black rant about this Bel-Air trailer. Guys, this was the worst trailer for a television show I've seen in a long time.
Really?
I have problems with it, but I don't think it was a bad trailer.
I watched this with my fiance. I actually watched this trailer twice because I was like, did I really see what I just saw? And I had to play it back. And second time I watched it was with my fiance, and she was like, this looks like a YouTube Red series.
No, so before
not a compliment.
Get into it, I want to say what my take is, because I want to see if I'm unique here or not. And I don't want to seem like I'm just copying what you said. So the beauty of what the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was, in my opinion, was that it came off as a light show, but took you by surprise when it hit you in the feels. And that's what made it so great. The trailer for this show comes off as a heavy show that has some light elements. And it feels like it's specifically trying to monopolize on those heartfelt moments that made the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air great, when it wasn't just those, it was the culmination and the surprise factor that it had.
I maybe have never agreed more with you on this show. Like that is exactly what the problem is, that the whole time you're watching it, you're just kind of going, oh my God, it's like they don't know what the old show was. Because the old show was exactly that. It was a show it was a sitcom. It was designed to be funny. It was designed to be, American escapism, and then occasionally they would be like, oh yeah, and by the way, Will Smith can act really well, so here's him seeing his dad walk out on him again, or here's him taking a gun away from Carlton. And yeah, they flipped it this time, where like you said, it's going to be this show that takes itself extremely seriously. It's going to be a show where Carlton is not going to be funny at all. It's so weird. I can't even believe it still. I watched the trailer an hour ago or so, 2 hours ago, and I'm still just kind of shocked. And I didn't even, by the way, this is another show that I've watched plenty of this show. I never felt a super strong connection to it, but even so, I was insulted when I watched this trailer. I was like, really? What's weird to me is Will Smith is so closely involved, and the character's name, by the way, if you can piece together various parts of the trailer, the character's name is Will Smith. The main character's name. They didn't change it or anything, which is fine. But I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't know. I mean, what Nerdbomber, you were about to say something that you didn't get, and I'm curious to hear what that is.
Well, that was pretty much what I was going to say. Will Smith is a producer on this show, and you would think, he would know at his heart what the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was supposed to be and what the core of it was. It almost felt like when I was watching this trailer, this is a completely different show. And that they took the characters' names and they took the show name and they're dressing it up as a reboot, but really they are fully intending to make almost a completely different show. The background premise is going to be the same, but this is a completely different show. And I'm very confused. If you changed the names in the show and you said this is just Will Smith new drama, I would watch it. Now you're telling me this is a Fresh Prince reboot, and I'm like, no, this is not. This is not what this is at all. And it's fine. It may be very good, but label it what it is.
And I get why they did it. There's a lot of reboot sitcoms coming off, and they're just not sticking. We're not in the same sitcom. We can't redo what was done in the past. So I get them taking this new take, but I agree with you, Nerdbomber. Then totally call it something different.
Right. The kid they got, I'm sure, can act, and I'm sure he's very good. I almost feel bad for him because this is a situation where people who don't watch the trailer, which I'm sure are going to be some people, are going to be like, oh, good, a Bel-Air reboot. I'll go watch it. And they're going to be like, what am I watching? And it's going to fall on him. And I just and I know listeners might come on our Twitters and be like, oh, so you just want a shot-for-shot remake? No, that's not what I'm saying either. But this is just taking what made the first show good and flipping it upside down. And I just don't understand the reason for that.
Would you say it was flipped turned upside down?
Nice.
It was flipped turned upside down. They're just in fairness, the other side of the coin is when you think about, the premise of the original show is Will Smith was in Philadelphia, and think about the intro to that show. He gets into a fight on the basketball court, but a guy picks him up and spins him around.
This gets dark. This is he's in prison and guns. Some guy is going to try to kill him. And
that shot especially was insane. They're like in West Philadelphia, born and raised on a playground. Oh no, there's a guy looking at me through a jail cell, holding a gun to his own, a finger gun to his own head, and basically saying he's going to kill you. That makes more
sense as to why Will Smith moved. So I get that side of it.
And I will say, this might be Will Smith. When we look back at some of these 90s shows, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air put a very rosy spin on things that were happening.
That's the point I was trying to make.
And so I can understand, even beyond just the fact that a sitcom doesn't necessarily play super well these days, I can see why Will Smith might want to go back and be like, okay, so you had your entertaining, comedic Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but this is what it's actually like. And I get that too.
It just feels cheap. It just feels cheap. I understand it. And the point I was trying to make was when you deconstruct the original premise, you wouldn't move across the country because a guy picked you up on a basketball court and spun you around. You would move across the country because a guy threatened to murder you. They made the premise of the show, I suppose, more believable than the previous rendition. The thing was, with the previous rendition, you didn't care whether it was believable or not. You cared that Will Smith was in a fish out of water comedy where he's a Philadelphia kid in Bel-Air. And it feels disingenuous. I'm going to go ahead and draw a parallel to Uncharted, which I was equally angry about. It's just they're taking a name and they're using it for something that's just different. And I can't get on board with that ever. And this is just the latest example of that. And it's probably going to happen many, many more times. But
I have a feeling too, the show is actually going to be very good, but it's just going to be a little bit hamstrung by the fact that nobody is expecting this. Nobody is looking, when you think The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, nobody's thinking of a drama. They're just not.
For all I know, I saw the trailer came out and I was like, when a trailer comes out, I'm not I'm going to go see what people think of it. I'm going to watch it and I'm going to form my own opinion. I didn't even scroll down to YouTube comments for this. I do wonder, and I'm sure I'll find out soon after this, what the general public opinion of it was, because I just don't think it looked good. It might be good. You might be right. That was not my take. My take was, wow, what happened here?
See, I think that, because I haven't looked at anyone's comments or anything either, but I wonder if there will be a generational divide. So people who are familiar with the original Fresh Prince property, they'll probably be watching this and be like, wow, this is super dark. This is not what I was expecting. And then you'll already have that kind of implicit bias against it because it's not the genre of show that you were expecting. But if you don't know anything about the original, if you're a younger kid who, let's be real, that's probably who this show is mostly aimed at. I mean, we're not in high school anymore. We don't relate as well to what these characters will be going through. I feel like just based on the trailer, it seems more centered. The original Fresh Prince was kind of centered around the whole family, and I feel like this is a little bit more centered on the high school experience. And so when you look at people who are in high school now, maybe they're familiar with Fresh Prince, the original, but maybe they're not. And so maybe this will appeal to them at a greater level. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
They're reframing, and I guess in the original show too, Carlton was, he did the whole these are my people, these aren't your people kind of thing. But in I don't know, I get that I guess the kids in this version of Bel-Air are still supposed to be stuck up. It's just in a different way than what I remember about the old show was Carlton being these are my people, and you were like, oh, okay, so they're snooty and nerdy, and this is different. It's we're all stuck up because we have rich parents or something. I don't know. It all leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But I do think that you're probably correct. And again, drawing a connection to Uncharted, the same reason I was mad there. This isn't for me, and it's maybe it's not for any of us. It's for someone who hasn't seen the original. It's for someone who hasn't played the original game. It's for someone who is younger than me. I guess I'm a curmudgeon now. I don't know when that happened.
Well, I mean, it's different. Teen media has changed. You look at the things that we were watching when we were teenagers, and it was stuff like Boy Meets World, where it was it felt very after school special, wholesome-y. What teens are watching now, you look at the CW, you have
13 Reasons Why.
Well, and Riverdale and these heavy dramas.
Yeah.
Teens are watching heavy dramas. And so this feels more in line with a lot of the shows that they're watching now.
I'm sorry for you guys. Like,
I mean,
your
we had
stuff's
that
heavy.
too. We had like
Yeah,
Degrassi. Degrassi was very heavy. It was Canadian. And not many people
I agree though.
watched it here.
I agree. I'm sorry. Like it can't be very much fun. Like you said, it's just like we had Boy Meets World, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like my goodness, however many Disney Channel shows.
No kidding.
And now
Gen Z is ready to revolt.
But I mean,
it's just like full of mature themes. It's sad.
This is probably like a broader scope than nerddom or pop culture, but in general, kids are growing up faster. Whether that's because of the advent of the internet and being connected or just being exposed to information and news at a younger age. I mean, kids are more aware of drama, that things aren't all just after school, especially now more so than ever. Like, I think that's just the media is portraying kind of how they live now. That makes me sound super old, but I feel we were a little bit more
I think you're right again.
growing up.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I still none of these opinions, which I think are correct, are making me walk back my assessment of this trailer, which is that it was bad and the show is going to be bad. But when you dissect why I might feel that way, there's a lot of potential reasons, and most of them relate to me being old and crotchety. And I accept that. So if you want to come after me on the social medias, at Illeagle86, you're welcome to do so. But if you do so, I would encourage you at Techtic, at Nerdbomber, come after all of us. At Online Warriors 1, the main show account, also available to be came after, so that's how Twitter works. So we'll see. This has a release date associated with it. I don't know what it is. Google, please tell. Okay, I Googled Bel-Air release date and it's coming up with Sunday, February 13th is the actual correct date. Valentine's Day special, everybody. You want some romance? Check out Bel-Air. Let's talk about E3. Let's sandwich our television topics, and in the middle of that sandwich, a delicious E3 meat. I don't know. Make of that what you will. The news to be had here. E3 2022 again will be online only. Following COVID surges. I mean, obviously, the world loses here, but we win. Is that a fair assessment? Is that a fair assessment of this? Because that's how I feel.
So
I enjoyed it online last time.
My question to you guys, I know when it was live and in person and there were live showcases streaming, a lot of it was during the workday, but did your experience with E3 change? Yeah, when it used to be live, you got the whole scope of, there was an auditorium, people would cheer and clap, there would be things on stage happening like bands and whatnot. And now that it's mostly digital, you still get speakers and stuff, but for the most part, it's a more pared down, less flashy experience where it's just a bunch of trailers. Which one do you guys prefer?
Well, so I'm in it for the trailers either way. I'm not the kind of person who's going to seek out much else, maybe some gameplay footage, but for me, honestly, in terms of how much I've watched, it's remained fairly constant, but I do feel at least a little bit like the online event was directed more towards me, which felt good. Again, I feel like the world loses here, but I, as a person who has some investment in the video game world, I feel like a winner. So I don't know, maybe that's selfish of me, but
no, I
maybe
couldn't
you guys
agree
will
more.
agree.
It absolutely feels more geared toward the remote viewer because that's all I got, and it
Right.
feels like I'm a part of something bigger as opposed to a bystander to all the people who were fortunate enough to go.
Let me ask you a question that's only tangentially related. One of the things I remember about E3 last year was watching a lot of YouTube videos live as they happened, which means you get on the right side of the video, the comments box.
Oh, I turned that nonsense off.
The comments are just rolling past you. I have to ask, who's doing that? Because all the comments are Xbox is better than PlayStation. Or
No, because my favorite one was when when a trailer would come on that everyone was excited for, you always saw, "Let's go," and
there is a lot of that.
I would 100% do that if my fingers can type fast enough.
I just stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to see excitement, but it's interspersed with messages of varying political quality and just meanness that I'm why did you even write this? Comments on a regular YouTube video, I do understand a little bit more because they have a chance of remaining there and becoming very popular thoughts. But on a live stream,
I don't know. This might just be the communities that I've fallen into, but over the years, I found the internet to be more and more friendly. And is it just me?
It depends where you go. No, I think it depends where you go, but I think on balance, you're probably right. I don't think unfortunately, I don't think video game live streams are a place that it's not the first place I would go looking for that kind of.
You're going to see a comment from Techtic, hey guys, I'm super friendly. And it's just going to scroll up. You're like, oh, that guy's nice.
Right. But again, like what do you gain from typing that? Because it scrolls away maybe faster than anyone can read it.
It's a reaction. It lets the people presenting feel like they're being watched, and it gives feedback that everyone's excited. I totally get it.
I mean, it's kind of similar to Twitch streamers. Like, okay, yeah, when you're a smaller Twitch streamer and you're getting comments and messages, it's slower drip, so you can respond to every single one. But when you get into like the bigger streamers and you see people interacting in the chat, I don't necessarily know if it's so that, a streamer or the presenter can even see you. I think it's the hopes that someone else in the comments or the chat is going to engage with you and have a conversation. And I think some of it's just trolling.
I'm well aware. I did cut you off, Nerdbomber. Like, what's your opinion on the new E3 format? Do you feel like Techtic and I clearly feel, which is, we feel better? I think it's fair to say we feel better. Like,
I like it.
Seems
like, I think one of the things, so like, obviously we're not big. We're an indie podcast, but having everybody on the same...
Well, we're big. We're huge.
Sure. We're big in Japan.
We are big. You guys would not believe in Japan. You're listening to us right now thinking these guys are rinky dink.
Hey, shout out to Japan.
No, we're ronka-dunk. I don't know. I made that. That's the opposite. It's like big. We're ronka-dunk in Japan, guys.
But like, I think from that standpoint, it made me feel a little bit more on the same level playing field as some of the bigger players, like live tweeting and stuff. Everybody else was live tweeting. It wasn't like, oh, I'm live tweeting but I'm not on the E3 floor. You know what I mean? Like everybody was reacting to the same stuff from the same place.
Totally agree. Again, it's sad, but it's a win for everybody. Now, when I first heard this, what I had heard was it's going to be permanently this way. I don't think that would ever happen, but I obviously misread it. But like, do you guys think that's something that could ever be possible?
I mean,
just move it totally online only and just get that over with, and everyone's better for it.
Prior to the pandemic, I know E3 was struggling quite a bit, and I don't know. Like, there was question back then whether E3 would even survive another few years, especially with the in-person costs. So I wonder if this kind of actually saved E3 a little bit. That said, like, it would still be cool someday in the future to have been able to go and not worry about
I would like
sickness.
if they made it online only and then made other things like Comic-Con that much more inclusive and bigger.
Well, I consider also like a hybrid situation where there is it is a chiefly online only event, but on the days of E3 in, 10 major cities around the country, there are places you can go and watch the event with people.
Oh, that'd be cool. So, like a giant projector screen.
Yeah. So you have the option to, do what we've done these past 2 years and
it makes it more accessible,
at home and enjoy it.
And you get camaraderie with people within your area that are interested in the same stuff that you might not even known otherwise. Oh my goodness. I am in love with this idea.
And you spread out, because like another thing about E3 is like, famous people go and like do stuff. And like what famous people can go to 10 different cities and there's famous people everywhere. It does seem to me like it might be a cool idea. E3 committee, if you're listening, I don't know, feel free to steal it, but pay us royalties. Summer Game Fest also coming back, by the way.
That I'm more meh about. Summer Game Fest needs to be more concentrated.
Jeff Keighley kind of said, I think it seems like he kind of he heard this news came out and was like, oh crap, and like put together a brief photo that just says like, it's coming back, don't worry, we're here too.
I didn't like that. I was not a big fan of Summer Game Fest because Summer Game Fest was not like a day or a weekend. Summer Game Fest was like, we're here all summer and randomly we're going to drop random little conferences and we're not going to tell you that far in advance. You'll get notice in like a week in advance and it's going to be like a Tuesday at 11 a.m. Have fun. And it was just like, what the heck? Too disjointed. I did not enjoy that. I'm not happy about that one.
Well, there you go. At the end of this segment, I threw cold water on Nerdbomber. Not the first time, won't be the last. So yeah, E3 is going to be remote this summer. So I imagine most of our listeners will probably be excited about that. But I don't know. We'll see. Let us know in the comments, I guess. in the tweets. I always say the comments like we're on YouTube and we're not. In the tweets, in the Twitter sphere, let us know. For now, we are going to head to our regularly scheduled commercial break. But before we do, I would be remiss if I did not shout out our fantastic Patreon producer, Mr. Stephen Keller. Stephen, here is to you, my friend. We raise our goblets filled with mead or mulled wine, whatever knights drink or drank back in the day. We raise them to you. Stephen has supported us on the show here for a good long while now. He's had multiple guest spots on the show, which is one of his perks that he gets as a knight at our, we've decided it's a square or rectangular table. This is a result of his knight subscribership, which is our highest level of subscribership. Is subscribership a word? I'm going with it. On Patreon. You can head over to patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. Check out the details about Knight subscribership there. You can also look at our Squire level of support, which gets you access to the monthly secret segment and vlog, which the Knight also gets access to. And you can also take a look at the page level, which gets you access to the monthly secret segment. As a Knight, however, Steven also gets input into our weekly game segment, and he also gets this producer shout out. So believe me, being like Steven and being a Knight is not only a noble pursuit, but one that is full of reward. So again, patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. Get more of the details there. Thank you to Steven again, and we will take a short break now to shout out a sponsor, and we will be back to talk about Scott Pilgrim. If you have a business, you need a website. And what's the best way to get a website up and running? Choose a website hosting company that makes it simple, like Pear Networks. Pear has over 20 years of experience managing the entire digital ecosystem for thousands of online businesses all around the world. Pear makes it easy for you with do-it-yourself website building tools and features, including simple drag-and-drop page design. And they have guaranteed US-based support technicians ready to help you whenever you need it, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Right now, when you sign up with Pear Networks, you'll receive 1 free month of web hosting. You can see for yourself how easy it is to build your website for free by visiting pear.com/free to get your first month of website hosting for free by using the code QUICKSTART. That's pear.com/free, promo code QUICKSTART to get started today. Thanks to Pear Networks for helping to sponsor the show.
I'm Ryan Fonzie.
This is Cameron Hagee.
My name is Tony Giggles.
And we're 3 dudes who love The Legend of Zelda and love talking about The Legend of Zelda.
And if you are a Zelda fan as much as we are, then come on down and listen to your heart's content.
We have a podcast that we'd like to share with you. It's called A for No, B for Yes. We cover the Legend of Zelda series, different games chapter by chapter, and we have all kinds of theories about what we see and what we've experienced in the game.
Do you go through Wikipedia and look up stuff based on the things you see in the game to create theories to how it could link to other things in the world that we actually live in, and not the Zelda one that was the one that was created by the people that are in the world that we actually live in right now? Because if you don't, then you should watch this, because we do.
Did you guys get all that? If not, oh, you didn't. Okay. So we are A for No, B for... All right, I'll stop.
Okay, we are back to talk about Scott Pilgrim. Now, Scott Pilgrim, I think I've mentioned it on the show before, but if I haven't, one of my favorite movies from like this era of moviedom. I think this was like in the 2000s, maybe the late 2000s, based on a graphic novel series originally adapted for the screen by Edgar Wright. And it's now headed to the screen once again, this time as an anime series. Now, given that it's originally a graphic novel, this makes perfect sense. The original artist/creator, Brian Lee O'Malley, is writing and executive producing with Ben David Grabinski, the showrunner behind the revival of Are You Afraid of the Dark at Nickelodeon, which I admit I have not watched. But they will be running this show on Netflix in conjunction with UCP, a division of Universal Studio Group that was behind The Umbrella Academy and Chucky. So, first of all, did you guys see Scott Pilgrim, like the movie? Because it does seem like it would be right up your alley. Yeah, I'd be surprised and upset, honestly, if you hadn't seen it. This is a graphic novel series that only has 6 volumes, published between 2004 and 2010. So, admittedly, not a whole lot of IP to work from, but this one's got legs, I think. And something else that I did not mention, the anime house Science Saru is on tap to provide the animation work. Now, I don't know particularly anything that they've done. I know you guys are more anime people than I am. Maybe you do. But this is going to be an absolute smash. I think this is a no-brainer. I'm to the point that I'm surprised it hasn't yet happened. So, Techtic, you're an anime You are an anime. Is that fair to say?
I am one with the anime.
You are. I would say you are one with the anime.
You know, I'm glad you opened with that too, because the biggest blunder that they can make is the animation style. I mean, this was very comic booky, and it needs to maintain that. They can't try to be crisp with the way they do it, because it can't be. It's not. It's rough around the edges. It's page turning. There's pows, kerplops. Kerplop is the sound of like a squishy thing falling, if you didn't know.
In the live action movies, that's also the case. There's graphics.
And so you have to stay true to that. And as long as they do that, I think the formula is fantastic for them to really make some quality content.
Totally agreed. You know,
I'm batting 1,000 with you agreeing with me.
You know, you really are today. It's been an interesting day. I mean, I feel like we don't disagree that often, but this is a little much. I don't want to gross out the listeners. One question I do have, I guess, I do think, especially, you know, when I watched the movie, I had no Edgar Wright experience and I had no Michael Cera experience really to speak of. I didn't.
That
watch
was your
Arrested
first
Development or
Michael
anything like
Cera
that.
movie or anything?
I believe so, and it's still probably my most significant touch point with him, and he is fantastic in this movie. And
I know you don't take any of my recommendations to heart ever, but I feel like I need to give you a list of his work and you need to just go watch it. There's a lot that's like up your alley. Have you seen Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist at the very least?
I was about to say that's the other one of his movies that I've seen that I did enjoy. So you got me pegged on that one, certainly. But I didn't watch Arrested Development. I mean, gosh, what is he in? I know there's a lot more, but I'm just like kind of blanking.
Have you seen Superbad?
Right now in his... Oh, of course, I've seen Superbad. Maybe I'm wrong. I just like, whenever I think of Michael Cera, I think of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Have you
to
seen
his credit,
Juno?
I think. I have seen Juno. Okay, how long are we going to do this? I don't have a good memory.
We're just going through his IMDb at this point.
Right. I've seen all of those movies, but the first movie I think of when I think of him is definitely Scott Pilgrim, and I think it's because he's well suited for the role. And I mean that, or I guess I say that as someone who still to this day has not read the graphic novels. So maybe he's actually wrong, but he sure feels right. It might have been, you know, he just gelled with Edgar Wright really well or something. But Nerdbomber, I'm not sure, you know, Techtic is an anime. You are an anime, but I would say less so. First of all, is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I dabble. I would say I like more mainstream anime. And even that, like, I'm not big into Dragon Ball Z. That's not my vibe. But I do, like, I've watched some. Probably not enough to make me an anime like Techtic is, but I think
he's an anime. Yeah.
Yes, he is. This, though, I can definitely see myself watching. I also really like that they got, you know, the fact that anytime there's something where the original creator is having a hand in crafting the new story and the adaptation, I'm more interested in it because I feel like you're less likely to screw it up. So
it must mean their ideas are very good. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't want to be attached to it.
Right.
And maybe that's not how it works, but it sure feels like how it works, or how it should work, I guess. Another fun fact about Scott Pilgrim, by the way, the movie, which, yeah, go pause the podcast and watch that movie if you haven't seen it. Ramona Flowers, one of the most attractive female characters in any movie, in the Edgar Wright movie. I was smitten with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I don't think that's going to happen with the anime version, but...
Hey, you never know.
You never know. That's true. This is big. There's no release date associated with this yet. It's still in the early going. But yeah, I think this is going to be an absolute smash. I am curious. Another thing I'm curious about too, the story of Scott Pilgrim lends itself very well to cameos, right? I mean, the Chris Evans cameo being first and foremost in my mind. They were like, let's get a hunky famous guy. Do we have voice acting opportunities for the League of Evil X's? And if so, can we get Mark Hamill? I guess is like my number one question to like just, I don't know, be one of the boyfriends. Maybe he sounds too old. I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe he has it in him. We'll see. This is big. I think this is going to be a big one. So we'll check back on that. We'll let you all know. And for now, we will transition, as we always do, into what we've been up to. And Techtic, since you and I have been two peas in a pod today, I'm gonna let you kick us off.
Okay, so those of you who follow me on the Twitters, you guys know that I gave in and wasted a lot of money, guys. It happened.
It's not a waste if you enjoy it. That's a very mom thing to say. Or maybe it's not a mom thing to say. It's just a thing to say.
It feels like I should have just nestled away the money, but you know, sometimes you have this vision of a bigger picture, and you just got to execute. And per my New Year's resolution, I had said I'm going to start
There you go.
executing. And so I had purchased various components of what I think will make a successful quadcopter. Now, and I don't want to say I just bought a kit, because I did not. This was 100%. I selected each and every component based on what I think would work together, based on the amperage draw, what kind of weight total I was at relative to the thrust of each motor, relative to the size of each propeller. Relative to the size of the frame. And even if I wasn't sure what I wanted to go and do with it, I even did things like my frame that I selected is actually modular, where it can change the different lengths so that I have adjustability for various needs that I may or may not pursue.
This is organic, free range, locally sourced drone building. I mean, it's there's no kits. It's all farm fresh. And ripping the parts off the land. And
the beauty of it, too, of what I selected, in addition to, say, the modular frame, is the flight controller is really where it really gets fun. So the flight controller I selected has the ability to map ArduPilot onto it, which lets you program your own autonomous code. Yeah. You can adjust and program your own controllers, and instead of just taking the default stabilization and waypoint system that it has. And so I'm really excited to see what I can do and expand, and maybe even as I get more into it, maybe even I'll maybe 3D print my own frame attachments, or even my own frame. There's hopefully endless possibilities that I can now go down.
So are the parts in yet, or are they going to be streaming in slowly over the next few, however many?
They're arriving this week.
Okay.
So I'm very excited.
Supply chain issues, be damned.
I have to clear off my workbench. I've gotten just about everything necessary for remote control use. I haven't purchased the telemetry parts for autonomous waypoint flying, but I wanted to get the initial build out of the way, get the simple standard controlling it with a controller out of the way, make sure all that works before I just say, all right, drone, see ya. And then it goes off to greener pastures and never comes back.
So what is we may have mentioned this, I don't know if you talked about this last week. I know this has been in the hopper in your brain for a little bit. What's the primary use case that you have in your head for this piece of machinery right now, if you're willing to share that? Because I don't know what it is. So
big picture, I'd like to do synchronized flying, pre-programmed, where they map out their own trajectory and avoid collision and similar to that of a light show and things like that, and maybe even a light show. But that's we're talking 50 drones here, and I'm hemming and hawing over one, but just kind of figuring all that stuff out and giving it really a brain of its own to react. And
I don't want us to be a podcast that encourages flagrant spending of money. With that said, I'm going to just agree with you again for the millionth time today and just fully support this. I think this is an excellent use of your resources, your brain, especially in light of your New Year's resolution. But even without that, I just think this is go do this, man. You have my endorsement. You didn't need it, but...
And I will be, for those of you who are curious, I will be publishing a bill of materials of what I selected and why I selected, but don't hold your breath, as I say for most of my content.
Well, there you go. Because they could suffocate, or
yeah, they will most certainly suffocate if they do that.
Okay. Well, don't do that. Does that bring us over to Nerdbomber, or is there anything else you want to update us on?
We can move over to Nerdbomber.
Nerdbomber.
All right. So I didn't make any big expenditures, but we did watch a movie and played a new board game, and actually played a video game. I'll try to keep them semi-brief so I don't talk ad nauseum.
Well, these are good.
The first movie that we watched was The Tender Bar. This is the new George Clooney, Ben Affleck movie. Forget the kid's name. Ty Sheridan?
Yeah.
This is on Amazon Prime streaming right now, included for free. And this was actually, I had kind of mixed feelings on this. So the initial walkthrough, or run through, I guess, of this, I thought it was a good movie. I wasn't sure I liked the way that the movie ended. And this is not really a spoiler. It just felt very abrupt. Like all of a sudden they were like, okay, and we're done now.
Right.
And you just kind of feel unsatisfied a little bit. And like there could have been a more concrete, better ending. It just seemed very sudden. That said, like I think Ben Affleck did a really good job playing a extremely sympathetic And
Oh, Ben Affleck was the star of the show
Yeah,
easily.
hands down the star of the show. I think when the movie ended and we started talking about it, though, I don't know if I actually liked the main character, or at least how the main character was portrayed, which is a little, I guess, problematic. But when you're watching the movie, you find yourself very sympathetic towards the main character, and his relationship with Ben Affleck's character, his uncle. It's a very feel good type movie. But in retrospect, you kind of look back and you're like, did I actually like the main character? I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm convinced he was the bad guy in his relationship.
Well, so I have two problems with this movie. Having not seen it, I have two problems with this movie. One, I don't know when it happened, but it definitely happened to me at some point. I am unable to take Ben Affleck seriously anymore. I think.
Well, that's wrong.
I think it's because of all of those photos of him holding the Dunkin' Donuts. That might have been when it happened. Because they're so fun. Have you ever
Actually,
seen these
that
photos?
persona fits this movie character perfectly. So I think you'll be good.
I don't think so. I don't know. I always have a hard time, especially like in light of some of his more recent interviews, how that's not who he actually is. And to memify him and have that his entire career be overshadowed by a meme when he is actually a very good actor. That, like, I don't know.
Okay, but also, have you seen Sad Affleck? One of my favorite YouTube videos ever. Have you seen Sad Affleck?
I have. I'm just saying, like, I would not.
It's so funny.
I would try to lock that away in a different part of your brain, because he does give a really good performance in this movie. Not all of his movies are great. Like, Gigli is a movie that I wish I could fire into the sun and take my time back. But this is actually, he has a really good performance in this.
He's a great actor. I mean, like, I love him in Good Will Hunting. I think the last movie I saw of his that I really legitimately liked, thought he was legitimately good in, was Argo, which was like 2012 or something. And after that, I don't know. I just I fell off the train at some point. My other problem with the movie, though, perhaps more fundamentally, it has the most ridiculous title I've ever. Tender Bar was my nickname in high school. It's a ridiculous name.
Well,
It's supposed to be. I know what it.
The book
I know what
is
it
called
means.
The Tender Bar, and it's supposed to be because this is where the kid found like a father figure, essentially, behind the bar.
Right. I get it. It's just I laugh. I've turned on my TV and my Fire Stick, and I see, and I laugh every time, because it's like their main banner right now because they want me to watch it, and I understand that, but it gives me a chuckle. That's all. I might try it. I'm open to it.
I will say, in terms of Clooney
in spite of what I just
movies,
said, I'm open to it.
Like, I tend to find Clooney movies, they're not always bad, but they're always very long. And sometimes they get a little dry. And this was not. I think this was maybe an hour and a half. I think it was 108 minutes, if I almost remember on the nose. But like, it didn't feel super long, and it wasn't your stereotypical super long Clooney movie. So not a bad thing to check out. I think there led some discussions about the main character, and I don't know, just interesting conversation after the movie. But yeah, so that was the movie we watched. Then I got a new board game, which is Castle Panic. And this is a cooperative board game, or you can play it solo. And essentially, it's a castle tower
defense?
Yes.
Tower defense.
It's a tower defense game. And so you have a pile full of monster tokens, and you're basically having to stop. You have a ring around your tower, and the monsters progressively march ring to ring towards your tower, and you have to stop them and work together with your teammate to play cards, trade cards, figure out the best way to stop them all. And the game doesn't end until you've cleared every single monster tile that comes with the game. And it was actually a lot of fun. We managed to win our first playthrough, and it's pretty simple. I'm at a point sometimes where, like, if I have to sit down and read like a epic lengthy book, like for what is the game that you love, Techtic? Mansions of Madness. That is too unwieldy for me sometimes. This was not that.
Haunted House on the Hill.
Was it?
Yeah.
What's Mansions of Madness then? Is that another game that's very similar to that? I feel like we've played.
Sounds like it's a Mad Mansion.
Haunted House on the Hill. Are you talking about Betrayal at House on the Hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a big book,
Okay.
and you're like beholden to this book the whole time, and it's fine, but like also I don't want to read when I'm playing a game that much, and I don't need to be constantly listening to someone read me instructions when I'm trying to play. So this was good, because this is not that, and it was very simple, easy to learn, but also like enough strategy and cooperation that went into the game to make it fun. So Castle Panic, very fun stuff. And then lastly, we started playing Dark Alliance, which is a video game around Dungeons and Dragons, and it's a co-op game. We only started playing for about like 2 or 3 hours. It got lambasted with reviews, and I don't know if it's as bad as the reviews say. It's definitely kind of like glitchy and buggy. I'm playing it on the original Xbox One. Techtic's playing it on the Series X.
Yeah, it's pretty smooth.
He's having a good time. Like, smooth-wise, I'm a little laggy and buggy, and I think that might just be a function of the console I'm on. But like, generally speaking, it's just like a pretty standard co-op fantasy adventure. I will say, I will give it credit where it's due. I really like the loot system because you get new loot, but you can't open your loot boxes until you get back to like your base camp after the mission is over. So your mission is never really interrupted by the whole party having to be like, oh, I just got this fancy new object. Let me go check my inventory, because you can't do that till the end. And I actually really like that. Super smart. So that is my update.
The one missed opportunity with that game is character customization, because one of my favorite parts of Dungeons and Dragons is, making my character what I perceive them as, and having fun with that. I mean, the backstory alone, I've written pamphlets on backstory, and they just said, well, these are your classes that you got to choose from of preloaded characters. Go nuts.
Yeah, in that aspect, it is kind of generic feeling, because they basically are just like, here are 4 characters you can pick from, sort of like Borderlands. You get no say in what these characters look like, what their backstory is, what they do. Like, this is what you get.
I don't want to draw parallels to Borderlands, because I mean, like I said, D&D is you love it because you make the character your own. Borderlands is Borderlands.
Well, no, but what I guess what I'm trying to say is, in this game, character selection feels more like Borderlands, where there's 4 options, you get to pick one. It's not like, even like playing something like Destiny, yeah, there's classes, but you still could kind of customize your character to your loadout and build, whereas it's like, this is your weapon. This is what you're going to do. You're going to have a big hammer and you're going to be slow, and that's it,
Fair enough.
So that's my update.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Dark Alliance is what it's called, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mess that up.
Yep.
Check that out. Maybe is the review that I think we just heard.
It's on Game Pass, so like, if you have Game Pass, Game Pass is like a WTF thing, yeah, where you're just like, why not? Let's do it.
On my end, I have 2 things I want to mention. One, a new board game. Board games, man. It's a great time of year to play board games. I've been going hard on the solo board games, but I'm actually going to shout out a multiplayer game, although I think it might have a solo mode, called Maglev Metro. This is a heavier game. I think we played in about 90 minutes, maybe even closer to 2 hours, 4 players. You're making magnetic rail trains in the city of Berlin. Although you could also
Are the pieces actually magnetic?
No, but they are metal trains, and it's very satisfying. And there are like plastic. It's all hex based, so there's plastic. There's like plastic hexes that have straighter curved tracks on them, and you all have a different color, and they can overlap. And because they're clear plastic, you can actually overlap the hexes and still see all the tracks. It's a very well engineered game. Plays super well. The turns are very, very quick, which is often a problem in those bigger games. If turns are longer, you kind of lose focus more easily, and this game did not suffer from that at all. So I was a huge fan of that game. I just want to shout that out. I've been going hard on the games lately. And then we watched a movie on Netflix, The Incredible Jessica James. This is not one that I would recommend. This is one of those rare occasions where we watched the movie. The whole time, my fiance and I were like, this is really not that good. It's a lot better than it thinks it's a lot better than it is. It's one of those movies. And then it ended, and I went on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got an 89%. So maybe I'm just an idiot. But it has, the only person in it who you would know is Chris O'Dowd, who perhaps is most popularly known as the cop in Bridesmaids. That's what I know him from. He was great. He was funny. And the lead was pretty good, too. The lead actress was pretty good. The script had its moments, but was mostly bad and wasted a lot. This movie was, I think, an hour and 20 minutes long, and it could have been half the length that it was. There was a lot of filler scenes, which I just don't understand that. And also, if I didn't make it clear, it's a romantic comedy, which I tend to give a lot of lenience to and like generally love as a genre. But this one just wasn't really for me. I don't know, don't watch it. But also, it's a Netflix original, so if you have Netflix, it's free, so you could certainly do worse, I guess. So yeah, that's the extent of my update. More to come next week. XOXO Illeagle 86. That's how I sign my journal entries, or my diary entries, depending on what kind of day it's been. I'm hosting a quiz today. As those who joined us last week know, I am 1-0 on the year. Nerdbomber 0-0. Techtic 0-1.
So it begins.
Let me tell you, it's go time, man. People are talking. That's all I'm going to say. There's whispers and murmurs in the vast reaches of cyberspace that it's going to be another rough year for you. And I want to motivate you. I want to take this opportunity to motivate you to not give those
according
naysayers
to
the
our
time of day.
listeners, it's really, I'm not really losing out on anything because nothing's been decided about the thing that I'm doing yet.
Look, we'll get to it. We're very busy. I've been very busy putting together a quiz on marzipan, which, for those who don't know, today, the day this episode comes out, January 12th, is National Marzipan Day. I've never had marzipan, I don't think. If I did, it was unknowingly. Marzipan is a confection made from sugar, honey, and almond meal, or almond. And we're going to be going through some facts about it, all of which are numerical Price is Right style. You guys know. You've listened before. Or if you haven't, that's how it works. You'll see. We'll do 5 questions and a tiebreaker as needed. Techtic, good luck. Nerdbomber, also good luck, but less good luck because...
I've had marzipan once. I don't need your luck.
Yeah, is it just like, are we like in a marzipan dead zone geographically? I've barely had the opportunity to eat marzipan.
I
don't
had
know.
it at a
It
potluck
got by
and
me.
somebody brought it as like a around the world style potluck. And I remember it being good, but I've never seen it anywhere else since then. I'm sure it's probably just we're in a marzipan dead zone where we live.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, to be clear. I'm not a big almond person, but let's dive into this. We're going to start with actually a non-traditional marzipan. A pistachio marzipan sweet was made in Aleppo, Syria on 1st July 2003 by 225 chefs in an event organized by Spacetel Syria at Hamadanya Stadium. How much did the world's largest pistachio marzipan sweet weigh? And I'm looking for an answer in pounds. And we'll start with Nerdbomber. Ladies first, chivalry is not dead.
Okay, I'm going to say this is probably, I'm trying to think of like world records type things. And normally they make it like as big as a person in diameter. I'm going to say it's probably like a 300-pound marzipan.
All right, T-Dog, you know what time it is.
Pounds.
Well, Tactic, you're on the board. Yeah. 9,255
Oh my
pounds.
gosh.
And technically that
And
wasn't a +1.
And 14 ounces. Technically, it was not a +1. That's absolutely correct. Tactic, congrats, man. What a time to be alive. Let's continue. The term marzipan, from marchpane, I don't know why, is widely in use now in a number of languages, but an almond and sugar variant known as postre, I'm going to try my best with this, postre regio,
Oh yeah, postre
in Spain,
regio.
has been traced to what year as its origin year? In other words, when did marzipan become a thing? That's basically what we're talking about here.
So I think it's later than what we're thinking, but earlier than what we're thinking. So I'm going to
How
say
can that be?
1230.
Okay, I think it's definitely later than that. I think it's probably like the 1400s. So I'm going to say 1400.
Well, so there is some debate on this, but based on the website I have in front of me, 1150 is what I have. So you both busted. There's a lot of places that lay claim to marzipan as having invented it. It's mentioned in Shakespeare in a few places. Germany, Italy, Portugal, Spain have all laid claim. Germany.
Yeah, I was
I
close.
think I mentioned Germany already. You were close, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, as they all say. Here's an interesting one. So marzipan, as I've mentioned, is almond-based. How many published research papers are there to date on the health effects of almonds, in particular with a focus on heart health, diabetes, and weight management?
Okay,
And we're back to Nerdbomber first.
I'm going to say 1600. I feel like there's been a lot of research done on almonds.
I agree that there's been a lot of research on almonds, but this is specific to heart health. So I think it's
Heart health, diabetes, and weight management is what it says.
Those are like the big three, at least in America.
I think that's something that's come out in the last, say, 50 years or so where it took. So I'm going to say 1.
Well, Tactic, it may be your day. The number I have in front of me here is 98. So
That's
not
it?
1600. Look, it's hard to publish a paper. As someone who, I think a number of us have published research papers, but it's hard, man. This number makes perfect sense to me.
I don't know,
So
man.
Tactic.
Like, I bet you I could type in almonds into like ResearchGate or something and get like a bajillion hits.
specific to diabetes, heart health, and losing weight, though.
I don't know.
So, per Wikipedia, and now Nerdbomber, you have to run the table here to tie. So, I don't know, don't blow it. Is I
won't.
guess what I'll say. Let's talk about chemical composition / science. According to Wikipedia, which is sourcing something else, I don't know what, some research paper, Springer Science and Business Media. Marzipan's softness is a balance between the solid and liquid components. What is the maximum moisture content supposed to be?
Is this in percentage?
This is a percentage.
23%.
24%.
It's a double bust. Nerd
Are you
bomber.
serious?
The door has been closed. 10%, guys.
That
a
is
little bit of moisture goes a long way.
That is a dry treat. Huh.
We'll round the final base here because unfortunately I saved my favorite question for last, and now we don't even really need it. But one of my favorite websites from back in the day.
So before you get into it, just a quick question. Yeah. Isn't honey hydrophobic? So technically it doesn't have water in it?
Listen, I'm the one who asks the questions. I have no idea. I don't know. Look into that on your own time, I guess is what I'll say. I could believe it. Then again, it's somewhat viscous itself. It must have some moisture content of its own. I really don't know. One of my favorite websites from back in the 2000s, which is a hint, but I don't care. Homestar Runner had a character in its many videos and skits and games and little things named Marzipan. I believe she was Homestar Runner's girlfriend. When did Homestar Runner, the website, hit the internet? When did it first premiere?
1998, I believe.
And you know what the beauty about this is?
You can just +1 me.
I didn't use mine yet. 1999.
Well, he's done it, folks. Essentially a queen sweep. January 1st, 2000. Happy New Year. Happy New Millennium. Homestar Runner. Techtic.
He's doing a little jig over here, a little
we've...
dance. And I just have to note, you lost last year.
I'm tied for first place right now.
You are not, technically, but I appreciate the...
Aren't you 1-0?
Yeah, it's a better record than 1-1 there, Chief. You're 500. I'm 1. That's how it works. We go on percentages here. At least last I checked. I'll have to look at the rule book. One thing's for sure. Nerdbomber goes to 0-1. She is well, you're in last.
This is how I started last year.
It.
I feel like I started on a really bad skid last year, and then I came back and it was fine.
Well, it's a long year. So we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, Techtic, feel free to celebrate. We had an idea for how to end the show because we wanted to change it. And now I don't remember what it was. Do you guys remember?
We just say goodbye.
No, it was not. It was something else.
Wisdom, words of advice.
Wisdom, words of advice. That's right. Because we ran out of occupations, guys. That's what happened. Is I ran out of like people you could go tell who have like a certain job. Yeah, wasn't last week's like drink orange juice or something? That's what it was.
Yep.
And that was Techtic. Nerdbomber, do you have any advice for the folks? I don't want to put you on the spot. I can try and think of something, but I haven't.
I got one for you. Here's my advice. Velcro shoes are not advised. It was a pun. It was K-N-O-T though.
Oh.
I don't know. Stay away from Velcro shoes. I think it's still where we're landing on this, but more on that next week. Kiss, kiss. I don't know. Signed Illeagle 86. How do we do this? This is weird now.
You hang up.
No, you hang up. Okay, goodbye.